Let's now turn to the advisory. The cost of private education in Australia is rising faster than household incomes, with some senior school fees already approaching $50,000 a year. Well, financial advisors say without early planning, families could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in education costs per child. Ashley Tilston is joining us from Spectrum Wealth Partners. Ashley, welcome.
Andrew, thank you very much for having me.
This, well, I guess as a parent, if you're choosing whether your child goes to private school or public school, I mean, so much of this is a financial decision, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It does start with trying to find what is the right school for your child. That's sort of the important component. But people want to have that choice and flexibility. You cannot go into this just thinking, oh, I'm going to go to a school. You have to understand what the true cost of this is going to be. As you alluded to, it's $50,000, but it's actually rising at 7% a year. So the forecast in 13 years' time is actually going to be upwards of $100,000 per child to go to year 12.
Yeah, why are they increasing well above the inflation rate?
It's a number of different factors. I suppose one of the things is just demand. So we've seen a rise of 31% of students going to, or parents allocating their students to go to private schools. This means that we're having a reduction in the local school areas. People just want the choice. Now you combine that with all the extracurricular activities that the schools provide, upgrades to their facilities, expansions, the cost is just going up. As a parent of three, I do question how they can do this, but at the moment there is the demand is outstripping the supply.
And of course, I mean, if you do go down that track and send your kids there, there's no tax break.
No, this is coming from your net income. So you have to compete with your mortgage payment, you're paying your electricity bill, your groceries, and this is something that people have to plan ahead to be able to afford.
All right, so if you choose then to do this, you're saying you need a strategy, you need to plan well in advance of them actually arriving at school on day one.
Absolutely. So, and as a parent of three young children, my wife and I sat down and sort of identified these the types of schools that we'd like to send our kids to, and then we developed a savings plan. So I do this financial modelling for clients on a regular basis, but we worked out that you have to put away $1,300 a month per child invested into a high growth index fund, and that will allow you to get to your savings goal. What's important is identifying the school though, Andrew, because you need to know what the fees are going to be, and then as a consequence work out what the actual end target is going to be. So you need to know, I'm going to be spending $400,000. That allows you to have that savings plan.
There is a cheaper alternative in Catholic schools, obviously.
Absolutely. So you've got there's a diverse range, but if you look at schools like St Ignatius in Riverview, that's still around $20,000 to $30,000 a year. You can go down a path. What you want to be able to do is have the flexibility and choice. So a parent can look at this and think this is something for us. They may decide to use that money to something else, taking the kids on holidays. There are a lot of different ways for children to receive an education, but if you are intending to do this, it's important that you have a plan.
All right, so you've come up with three main strategies then to approach this. So start saving early.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lump sum.
Yeah, so we've worked it out that we've calculated that if you're going to send a child to a private school and you want to put a lump sum away immediately, let's say you've got an asset that you can sell or you've received inheritance, you need to put away about $166,000 to start. That over the next 13 years will grow at the ratio necessary to send your child to a mid-tier private school, not to the high tier where it's $50,000, more so around $38,000 a year. These are really big numbers, and it's quite scary when you start to put it in place. So it's really important, again, to have that particular plan.
Certainly scary when you look at the end numbers, but
absolutely.
Look, many parents would already have a taste of this through having paid childcare fees.
Exactly. So one of the strategies that we do speak to our clients about is what we call sort of delay investing, where we're sending our kids to daycare. And so if you look at daycare fees average around $107 per day. Assuming you send your child 5 days a week and you do not get any subsidies, you're looking at $40,000 a year in after-tax money. That is a private school fee. So if parents are comfortable and they don't want to take a break while the kids go to primary school, what they can look to do is actually allocate that money across. So save a component of that. If you look at that money put away for a 6-year period, that will actually also get them to the amount necessary. Now, here's the good news, Andrew. If you undertake this today, once you actually get to 13 and your children are going to private schools, you don't have to come up with that money. So what you are working towards, you can actually enjoy that with your family, go on holidays, or perhaps just play golf.
Sounds great. Yes, let's first then look how you can actually tackle this. There are a couple of different ways of doing it you come up with, so that you talk to your clients about. First one being education investment bonds. How do they work?
So it's a tax-paid investment. The first thing to want to point out here is that this is an investment that is a separation. So you're separating this for a particular purpose. You make an investment into it and it's tax paid on your behalf at the company tax rate. You can invest into a diversity of different investments, listed shares, exchange traded funds, managed funds, whatever you like, but it's specifically put aside and tax paid. So it's great for any parent who is in a higher marginal tax rate.
All right, another option is probably more obvious in reduce your debt.
Yeah, absolutely. Put the money into the mortgage. We're very big on not using offset accounts for this particular purpose and actually putting the money into the mortgage, but pay down non-tax deductible debt. What you're getting here is a guaranteed rate. You know, my mortgage interest rate is 5.2%, so I'm getting 5.2% of my investment, and that brings it down. The trick is then you would redraw that loan and when pay for the education costs. One important thing to note though, is if you refinance your mortgage through that particular period of time, you have to be conscious of what you put in that loan.
And thirdly, having a direct investment portfolio. What would you consider there?
Well, this is going to be very similar in terms of the underlying investments as an investment bond, but the difference here is that you just invest this as a parent on behalf of your child. What happens in this circumstance is that it is taxed at your marginal tax rate, and this works really well if there's one parent who's out of the workforce who's earning less than, or marginal tax rate is less than the company tax rate. So it just gives them more flexibility in choice about how they want to invest. They're not going to be beholden to a particular structure, and you can invest in any measure that you want. What's really important though is understanding what is the return on investment that I need to achieve. If we've got school fees increasing at 7% a year, you need to be earning more than 7% a year on your return to actually just keep pace with the cost of the school fees themselves.
All right. Well, then at the end of that, you can come up for air, and that's when your child says, you know what, I want to go to university and go to college, and who's going to pay for that?
Yeah, you've got this. You've also got, Dad, I need help with getting a new car, or the big one, can you help me buy a house, please?
Or I'm just going to stay with you for the rest of my life.
One anecdotal thing just to note here is that the bank of Nan and Pop is a big contributing factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 63% of, it's estimated that 63% of children in private schooling actually get help from the grandparents. So maybe need to
that tells you a lot, doesn't it? Like
yeah.
2/3, of it's a generational effort, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So be nice to your grandparents is the key here.